Bloodshot is an incredibly popular character in comics. It is often considered one of the 4 or 5 most popular characters in the kind of the modern era.
We were literally attempting to create a different spin on the superhero narrative.
Bloodshot is a real sort of science grounding to the comics that I love. So I knew this was going to be something special.
And initiate sequence.
And action!
Bloodshot is a testosterone-driven, adrenaline-fueled character. I think Warren Simons once called it a house on fire rolling down a hill of dynamite. It is an explosive book.
Valiant Comic Books was renegade in its day, and it was creating characters, superheroes that were flawed in a more relatable way.
So we're wounded warriors.
Not wounded. Improved. Enhanced.
And really attacking these themes like post-traumatic stress disorder and imagining how that plays with our concept of a superhero.
We spent years talking to different directors, some big names. But when Dave Wilson came in and pitched his vision for what this story could be, I had the reaction of, I just want to see that movie.
Dave created a very striking visual presentation that incorporated his interest in science, but also with his unique kind of visual perspective coming from the gaming world.
For me, vision always starts with why. Why this story? Why tell it? So to start off, I'm a huge nerd. And if it's not clear now, it will be by the end of this presentation.
Science fiction has always been my real love and passion, and there's a subset of science fiction that I like to call science fact, where they take the authenticity of our reality and they take their sort of imagination and they create these what-if scenarios. And when I read Bloodshot, I felt like there was that same aspect of authenticity that was really the reason I signed on.
We are explorers on a new frontier. We are leading the way in the greatest human advancement of all time.
Dave knows this material back to front, and he knows exactly how he wants to present it. So he's a really clever guy, but of course he has this incredible technological kind of background as well.
He's been working in this industry for so long. He's been part of Blur Films, and he's been doing, from video games to trailers. He's very capable of directing. And he was so well informed about what society's going through with technology, how it's absorbing us. He's addressed that beautifully.
Do you think I could get some kind of RST tech installed on my body?
Why, is there a particular part of your body that needs augmentation?
Hey, Eric.
No, never mind.
The most sort of crucial aspect of the story that I loved was the idea of him being manipulated, the illusion of choice. And what I mean by the illusion of choice is every day technology makes decisions for us.
Technology determines every part of our life. We use apps to tell us who to date, what to eat. But we're also missing out on so many choices that maybe are the wrong choice that evolve us in different ways. And I think this film is trying to, at least at the core, touch that a little bit and make a commentary on it.
People like boxes, Ray. They need structure, they need guidance. That's just a reality.
And Bloodshot's dilemma is the personification of that. He feels like he is making a choice to go after the people that murdered his wife. In reality, it's all just manipulation. And it was that idea of manipulation that I wanted to make sure was brought from the comics to the screen.
Okay, start the extraction, prep the sim, rebuild the target package for Wiggins.
Anyone can identify with feeling manipulated because you, on one level, go,
Oh, Jesus.
I would hate for Bloodshot to be stalking me. But on another hand, you're going, I can't believe the perpetual state of despair that they're inflicting on him.
When you're adapting anything for the screen, really, there are certainly aspects which I feel like you have to adhere to, otherwise you're going to irritate a lot of people, a lot of hardcore fans. And the things I knew I couldn't leave behind were like the Bloodshot look, but I didn't want to just represent the look. I wanted to find a way to ground the look in the technology.
And so a lot of the conversations were about, well, how do we make the visual aesthetic as grounded as the storytelling so that the audiences get something that they can emotionally connect with as well as viscerally connect with.
You want to be true to the graphic nature of things that are in the comic and bring that into a world that feels authentic. So the chest glow isn't a crisp, like tattooed thing on his chest. It becomes a glow from these nanites that are inside him that are like emitting light.
What's that glow?
That's heat being generated by the nanites trying to save that mouse.
Obviously, I gotta have nanites in my movie. That was just a given. I'll lose every fan if I don't put that in the film. But how we represented like the endoscopic world that they exist in, wanted to try and be as faithful as I could.
That is absolutely amazing.
It's much harder, actually, to build something that takes place 5 minutes into the future. Here, we have to build something that feels like technology that legitimately exists today, just in a place that you don't have access to yet. And what was fun about that is we got to use the idea that we're making a movie to get access to all sorts of labs.
We actually went to the UCLA Nanosystems lab, where they talked to us everything about nanotechnology. In reality, there would be little pills floating around with woefully under-designed limbs. I wanted them to have some attitude to them.
And so the choice of the design of the nanites was a little counterintuitive. You have a technology that can bring people back from the dead. Who wouldn't want that? At the same time, this is as much a curse as it is a benefit. And so one of the ways that we tried to exhibit that visually was to make the nanites a little off-putting. No one likes bugs. And so Dave rightly made the choice to kind of mimic that.
The technology that's implanted in him is not too far-fetched. And we look at Bloodshot's ability to tap into the wireless network. I don't think we're that far off from machines really being able to do that.
You use my tech and scraped a criminal database. That is beyond illegal. I need you to come back now.
This movie is such a mind twist, and I think having somebody that skilled in VFX was a real treat. It meant that anything we filmed was going to be enhanced twofold.
Dave's obviously incredibly savvy with visual effects, and one of the things that's really nice is you can just have a very, not just creative conversation, but there's a technical side to it as well. He understands how far he can push it and when he needs to take a different approach.
So the process of iterating and trying new things and getting back in the edit is very, very familiar to me. There's no difference between the two, whether you're doing it for animation or visual effects, but the physical production, I have no basis for comparison. It is my first movie.
So Dave Wilson, first-time director. I'm a first-time producer here. Looking back, had a lot of benefits.
You don't need a history to have a future.
And the benefits are we question everything. There's no what way is it traditionally done. And that allowed us to get away with a lot of things that I think traditionally people would have said you'll never be able to pull that off.
We were down in Cape Town in South Africa, which is where I was born and raised. So it was nice to be back home. But then the film obviously doesn't take place in South Africa. So South Africa played a multitude of different locations all over the world. And the scale of the sets we were able to build was pretty remarkable. I always knew I wanted to have one heavy practical sequence in the film, like the tunnel sequence.
What the hell's going on?
One, action!
I liked the sort of claustrophobic nature and the visual quality of what I could do, but no one lets you shut a tunnel down for 2 weeks anywhere, so we had to build it.
That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the film. I really like the choices that Dave made and Jacques, the TP, made on that. It's a super iconic look. It's like red and white, so that was awesome. But what comes with that is a huge challenge because you can't shoot with real flour. Real flour, if it was in a tunnel, if someone lit a match or a spark dropped, the whole place would have exploded. So it sounded like it was a pretty brutal shooting experience.
Oh, that's not good.
It was very unpleasant in there, and Vin comes in, in wardrobe, and everyone else is standing around him in hazmat masks, and you're like, oh, this might not last. He did one take, it looked so amazing, and all the crew was erupted when we saw it on the monitors. And then he stayed in there for 3 days shooting all those slow motion shots with us after that, which was fabulous, because it would never have looked as good had we tried to do it with VFX.
Which is why it looks so great, because we had our star doing a lot of the stunts and trying to make it better.
Now, I'm not pulling this one out.
Each take, he's like, how can we push this further? It also really endeared the crew together. Through all that strife came this incredible energy that I think is on screen.
Sounds cool.
And action. And then just that, exactly.
I think everyone on the movie wants to do their best for Dave because he's so prepared, really personable. He just leads from the front.
There are probably a lot of fans out there that'll be excited about entering this Bloodshot universe. Hopefully it's an eye-opening experience.
Just seeing the film come together and not just exist in my head has been pretty amazing. When it all came together, it felt right.
I'm really proud of the movie. I think that it delivers because it took advantage of the medium. And I think this is very much a calling card for a big artistic arrival in the form of director Dave Wilson.
And cut. Great. Thank you. Okay.
We are explorers on a new frontier. Welcome to the circus.
This is the first guy to figure out a stable
And action!
That's the line. There's open source code in my multi-billion-dollar.
He's the first guy to figure out a stable Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you know what else everyone knows? 6 inches
See, you're here now with me, your old friend Winston. Your old friend Wiggins. Can we...
Did you actually break that? These are expensive. Sorry again. I didn't even do that. That one was my idea.
Six brother, brother, six two.
Cut!
Yep. Until an Iraqi mortar.
They call you Bloodshot.
Seriously?
Barry Bloodshot. Brian Bloodshot. Or Debbie. Or David.
You had me at blood.
Dinesh, are we sure it's Bloodshot?